Welcome to the Mentor Podcast, where the most highly motivated entrepreneurs come to get their weekly dose of financial stability with host Ron LeGrand, as well as other nationally recognized thought leaders who will teach you how to get, grow, and protect your wealth.
Well, hello, everyone. We're back to the thementorpodcast.com. Welcome. And that gentleman beside me, you might know, is Marshall Sylver. And he and I are going to be discussing today how to get your head on straight, because I've said many, many times, I wished I could send them to Marshall before they get to me. And then we wouldn't have so much trouble getting folks to implement after they get trained. So you can look at Marshall as kind of a brain surgeon, but he doesn't have a scaffold. Okay. He only fixes what's on the inside. He has done many shows for us. We have put many, many people through his events, and it really all boils down to he's trying to fix what's between your right ear and your left ear. So all the things that you come with baggage don't hold you back. And I don't know anybody better qualified to do that. I've seen him do it so many times with my students in the past. And I don't know how far back, Marshall, I don't even remember, but it's probably been at least 20 years, give or take, or more. I don't know.
Yeah, it's more than that. 1999 was the first time we worked together.
And
I remember it was in an event down in Atlanta, Georgia, 1,000 students in the room.
Huh.
And when we started talking about the topic that we're talking about right now, the thing that holds people back, 800 people took advantage of the opportunity of protecting the investment they've made in all of their real estate training by finally doing the one thing that they know is not happening. And it's not about your content. It's not about your processes. You've proven them again and again and again and again. I mean, how many success stories do people have to see before they finally realize it's them? And I remember, when we did that event, 1,000 people in the room, we gave them an opportunity to come study how to reprogram their own minds, how to use irresistible influence to negotiate better deals. And 800 of the 1,000 put their hands up, raced back to the back of the room and said, yes, sign me up. This is what I need to protect the investment I've made in all my other training. And, again, we talk about this a lot, that it doesn't matter to me how much training a person has. It's worthless if they don't figure out a way to take action on it. And, and the ones that take action, as you know, massively succeed. So I think that's the reason I'm so excited to connect with your students and have an opportunity to speak into their lives, and more importantly, reprogram their brains, because we do who we think we are. And ironically, as you know, people have to become real estate investors before they've done their first deal to get their first deal done and get more deals done.
And we both know the biggest thing that's stopping them is what's between their ears.
Yep.
They come and they learn, they even know what to do. But, it's fear, it's baggage, it's past failures. There's so big along the list here that keeps people from doing it. But majority will fall right in that category, no matter what the lesson is about or what the subject is about. Because, frankly, education is worthless without implementation. So my goal here, having you here today, is let's talk about how we can get more people to implement. Because, training is a terrible thing to waste.
Sure, it is. And again, you and I both know people in many fields, not just real estate investing, they go out and they get their 4 or 6 or 8 year college degree, and then they end up bartending, all because of fear, all because Oliver Wendell Holmes said a mind once expanded cannot contract to its original state. Once you learn new truths, you can't go back. I say a wallet once expanded will never contract to its original state. You do your first deal, you make your first big check. I don't care whether it's 20 or 30 or 50 or $100,000. You make your first big check, you'll kick yourself in the seat of the pants, and you'll say, what the heck was I waiting for? Like everybody does.
That's right. I think a lot of it, Marshall, is that people just don't feel like they're worthy of making good money. Swapping hours for dollars their whole life, and bad habit they have, and they just don't see how they're going to get above that. And honestly, you kind of feel sorry for the folks in this country that'll never, ever see past swapping hours for dollars every single day and never do it, never even know it exists.
I think the challenge with that, Ron, is you're right. Our income, our net worth is directly tied to our self-esteem. So, what I do is I get inside people's heads, I raise their self-esteem, I increase their confidence, but I also warn people. And the warning that I give them is part of my task, part of my job is to actually turn up their wantingness, to make them want a bigger life, make them want, more for their family, more for their kids, more for their spouse. And when you want more, you tolerate less. When you know you have to, you do what you need to do. You face your fears, you get over your inhibitions, you lose the need for other people's approval. And once you start doing that on a regular basis, you start winning. I feel for our students, and I know you do too. I feel for our students when I look at them and I know they have everything they need, everything. They've got every piece of knowledge, every, thing that can protect them from doing, because I think that's what they're worried about. They're worried about doing a bad deal and losing their money. And the fact is, you show me a real estate investor that claims they've never lost money on a deal, and I'll show you a liar. I'll show you somebody that either doesn't do deals or is lying about the deals they've done, or maybe somebody that's only done one or two deals. You show me an active real estate investor. Yeah, they make money over time because they have the knowledge to do that, but you can't control the future. So if somebody's sitting there watching this podcast right now and they're thinking, gosh, what if I lose? Yeah, that's always a factor. What if you get married and you get divorced? Well, if you never get married, you never have to worry about divorce. If you never invest in a piece of property, you're right. You never have to worry about losing it, but you lose in the long run.
True. Yeah. All right. That kind of reminds me what you just said of me, man. 1982, I had that low self-esteem, and I just couldn't, I did have to force myself to go to my first seminar because I knew it was a scam where I went. And I, come up with all these reasons why it wouldn't work. But after I got there, I found out, well, I don't know why it wouldn't work for all these people in this room.
Yeah, they don't look nearly as smart as I am.
Yeah. No comment on that one.
Well, that's what I always think.
Yeah. All right. So, well, that's true,
I'm
actually.
humble.
Yeah. So what do you think the biggest issue is? Is it fear, or is it, well, I guess that's directly related to low self-esteem, isn't it? I know mine was. I had terrible self-esteem when I started. But you know what? It fixed it for me. Just a series of small successes over a few years. I didn't have any Marshall Sylver to go to back then. I did buy tapes. In fact, I got a set of 12 tapes in my briefcase, a briefcase that I bought for $600 back in the way back. Nightingale. Anyway, it was all about motivation. I wore them things out, man. They were on cassettes. That's how old they were. I wore them out. It even came with a tape player. And that started me. In other words, listening to how to improve started me to start improving. But it was very slow. And, to this very humble person that I am today. That was a joke.
Well, you see, so you say humble and I believe it. I say humble and nobody believes it. But you were asking, what do I think it is? I think that it's reality is created by validation. And unfortunately, all of us, if we've lived at all, we've been burned. We've invested in stuff and it's not worked out the way that we wanted it to, or we've done things that didn't turn out the way that we thought they were going to turn out. And since reality is created by validation, if we have lost enough in the past, it becomes harder and harder and harder to succeed. But you're right. It's incremental. You have one good win and you say, okay, maybe the losses were the anomaly. Maybe the win is who I'm supposed to be. And when you get to that point, everything works out greatly. This morning, I was chatting with my wife, and my history. I was married twice before I met my one true wife. And I remember when we first met, she said, do you think you'd ever want to get married again? And I said, no, I've been divorced twice. So apparently I'm not the marrying type. I'm clearly not good marriage material. And she just said, okay. But 20 years later, marrying her, we have 3 kids. She's the best decision I ever made. So if you're watching this podcast right now and you've invested in real estate training and you've not been able to get yourself to do that first deal, or you've not been able to set your real estate investing business up as a business, it's just transactional, it's just one promotion to the next, then, we've got an event coming up on May 5th, a webinar where we're going to take a long time to teach you a technology called psychoneuroduplication, PND. What it means simply is that when you think what someone thinks, you'll automatically do what they do and you'll produce a similar result. You couldn't stop yourself if you wanted to. So I'm going to show you how to reprogram your brain with the thoughts of a successful real estate investor so that you'll go out and start on a daily, moment by moment basis doing what a successful real estate investor does so that you too can produce a similar result. When you do what they do, none of the old fears come up. And I also want to just say one more thing too. I don't think people that look at someone like you, Ron, or someone like me that has succeeded, has made so much money, millions and millions, hundreds of millions of dollars in the course of our careers, I don't think that they realize that we feel the same feelings they feel. I feel, before I get on stage, before I cut a big deal, there's apprehension. Some people might call it fear, but I don't call it fear, and you don't call it fear. You call it excitement. And so when I start feeling that tension in my body, that shortness of breath or the increased heart rate, I don't do what other people do. I don't say, oh my gosh, it's my universe telling me this is bad and protect yourself. No, I say it means pay attention. It means, yes, this is important to me. Yes, I really want to succeed and I really need to pay attention. Yet I need to feel the fear and move forward anyway. And I think that's the biggest thing that stops people is they don't have enough validation from people that they could identify with. You went to that meeting and you thought it was a baloney. It's a scam. They're trying to separate me from my money and, make me buy another training or seminar. And when you got there, you saw a bunch of other people that, frankly, if you're like me, you said, they're no different than me. In fact, I believe I'm better than them. I believe that I want this more for sure. And I believe I'm willing to give more to it. And if you fall into those two categories, you're going to win. Yes, there are people with less brains, less education, less motivation, and they're making boatloads of money. Why? Because they follow through, because they actually do what they're taught. So if you'd like to protect the investment you've made in every single program you've ever invested in, both with Ron and anywhere else, you have to mark your calendar right now, May 5th. We're doing a webinar. Ron and I are doing an event, and it's going to change the way you think about life. It's going to change the way that you look at real estate investing. It's going to instantly, whether you decide to come join us at a future event that I'm going to be talking about called Turning Point on that webinar, whether you join us at Turning Point or just join us for the webinar, which is totally free, I promise you it's going to change your mindset. It's going to make you more motivated. It's going to help you realize that there's a way for you to win that is different than how you've been doing it, and it absolutely works. It's infallible, actually. And just like the thousands and thousands and thousands of students that Ron has introduced me to, they're just like you, sitting there right now watching this program, that say, gosh, I feel like I'm this close. I feel like there's something missing. I promise you, get on the webinar on May 5th. You're going to have your brain tweaked. You're going to be adjusted. And you're going to walk away from even just that event on May 5th. You're going to walk away with 10 times the level of confidence you have right now. You're going to walk away with 10 times the level of insight into how to negotiate, how to persuade, how to influence people. And by the time we're done with you on May 5th, you're going to be a changed person. So I don't know about you. I do know that if you are sincere about being a successful real estate investor, and you really mean what you say when you tell yourself, when you're all alone and there's nobody else listening, I got to get this. I got to get going on this. I need to do something different in my life. If you really mean that, you're not lying to yourself and anybody that's in earshot, then get on the webinar on May 5th. Let your life be transformed. Thank Ron LeGrand for putting this all together. And at the end of the day, you're going to thank Ron, you're going to thank me, but more importantly, your family's going to thank you. You're going to thank yourself because you're going to finally break through in a way that you can't go back from. And once you start doing deals, you'll never stop. We just want to help you make those early breakthroughs.
By the way, that's at noon Eastern Standard Time. Make a note, folks. May 5th. Noon Eastern Standard Time. All right. So you don't even have to get up early if you live out in the west side of the country. There's a link here below to register, or you can go to ronlegrand.com/Marshall and register as well. It's free. So I had a brilliant thought there, Marshall, and it's gone now.
No, it's coming to you. It's coming back.
No, I have seen you help people stop smoking.
Yep.
I have seen you do miracles with people who, they didn't find any other way to fix whatever was broke. And I've seen you do miracles with changing people's attitudes. Unfortunately, a lot of my students are listening to broke people trying to tell them how to be rich.
Yeah. And
they're absolutely not qualified. And they take that to heart because they believe everything they hear. I got a T-shirt that says the whole world is full of crap, and it is. Right.
I'd like a copy of that T-shirt.
Okay, if I
Please give me
think I
one.
ran out of them.
Double X, please.
Yeah, I'll make a note. So I would encourage everybody to at least attend this presentation on May the 5th and find out what Marshall can do for you. And I don't care what problem you've got within real estate. I mean, I can't cure cancer for you, but he can't either. But what problem you got in real estate, I'm telling you right now, it's all self-inflicted. And it starts between both ears. And if we can get that fixed, the rest is easy, because it's not really a hard business. Once you make up your mind, it is worth your while to jump in and actually move forward. Sometimes I get people come back to me they've been 20 years in my system, and they see me on a video somewhere, and they come back and I ask them, well, we're doing very good there for a while. Then for some other reason, they quit. Now they want to come back. Real estate is a business that literally can provide for your life and create revenue that goes on even after you don't want to work anymore and still comes in every month. But it ain't going to do you a bit of good if you don't take what you learn. And, I teach people how to not take risk. I teach people not to guarantee debt. I teach them not to make promises they can't keep. I teach them not to sign on any kind of a personally guaranteed note and take themselves out of harm's way. And even with all of that, some of them I just can't get through because they just aren't going to let themselves open up and let it in and do something to improve their lifestyle. And that's kind of sad, but it's been that way for a long time, and I don't see us changing it. So we can do whatever we can. That's the best we can do.
Yeah, I think what that is it's almost like people are on a trapeze bar, and that trapeze bar is called security. Maybe they got a decent job paying them a decent amount of money, and they get to go on their 1.2 vacations a year, and they just don't want to rock the boat. And the challenge is that where they are is, in order to get to the next trapeze bar, they have to fully let go of the one they're on. And in that moment, there's insecurity, there's fear, and there should be, because it's dangerous. It can be. But, again, what you just said is you've given them the real estate knowledge. How do you put deals together and not personally guarantee them? How do you not expose yourself? How do you minimize your risk as much as you possibly can? But no matter what, even when that risk is minimized, there's still an element of risk, whether it's imaginary or whether it's an actual, minimal risk because you've done your education to minimize that. They still have to follow through. And since reality is created by validation, that's the challenge. If you've never done a deal, you don't know that it can be easy. We do all sorts of metaphors at our seminar. We have people breaking boards and walking on broken glass and eating fire and, climbing up 40-foot poles and doing all sorts of wild things. And invariably, after they do that metaphor, that exercise, they'll come back and they'll say, wow, that was easier than I thought it was going to be. And I always ask them, where else in your life is that showing up? Wouldn't it just be easier to just do a deal? Just do a deal on the parameters that you've been taught. Just do the deal and see where it goes. Because 95% of the time, you're going to be very pleasantly surprised that it turned out not just the way you wanted it to, because you got it done, turned out better than you wanted it to. And the last thing I will say, because I know that we're only here for a short time today, is that time's the great equalizer. And if you're watching this right now, I don't care if you're 12 or 92, you are older than you thought you would be at this point in your life. You cannot put it off again. You don't have that luxury. And what you must do is you must get on that webinar on May 5th. It's totally free. There's no cost. And in about 75 minutes, I'm going to blow your mind. I'm going to show you what you've been doing in the past, the conversations you've been having, as Ron would say, between your two ears that have been stopping you. When you thought they were protecting you, they weren't. But there's one more thing I'm going to teach you. If you succeed in your life, all the people that you've been around will be on a different plane. What do I mean by that? Relationships are like scales. They balance each other out. And when one side starts to grow, the other side has an option of either also growing or, more times than not, reaching over and pulling you back down. They're the people that when you tell them, oh, yeah, I'm going to do this webinar on May 5th, they say, oh, you're on another webinar? Oh, my gosh, you're going to another seminar? Don't let them try to sell you anything as if you buying something or you taking training was bad for them or bad for you or bad for the world. They don't get it. And unfortunately, many of those people you're related to, their family. They think they're doing you good. Yep. They think they're protecting you. But the challenge is they, in their heart of hearts, even though they love you and they want you to win, they don't really want you to win, because when you win, it only rubs in their face even more that they're not doing anything. So don't let them talk you out of having the better life that you know you deserve. Don't let them convince you that the whole world's a scam. Are there scams in the world? Certainly there are. But I got to tell you, Ron and I, we've been in business together for, 27 years. 1999 was the first event we did together. Obviously, you'd been around doing your events way, way before that, and myself included. So for over 30 plus years, 60 plus years collectively, we understand what you're dealing with. I too have bought seminars that weren't what they had been proposed to be or what I was told.
We all have.
It happens.
We all have. Yeah.
But I'll tell you, the seminars that Ron is teaching, the reason he's had longevity, when you've watched other companies come and go, when you've seen knockoffs, people that have stolen his material and gone out and attempted to teach other people and failed miserably, they don't have, number one, the integrity that Ron has. Number one, the number one thing, if someone says, tell me about Ron LeGrand, I will tell you, what I always say is that man has integrity longer than the day is. That man always deals with people fairly and honestly and equitably. And so everything you're learning from him can be useful when you apply. So right now, this is where the rubber hits the road, really. This is where you either admit, I'm not cut out to be a real estate investor, I'm not going to do this, or you step into the life you're supposed to be stepping into. One with massive prosperity, one with financial security for you and your family for the rest of your life. Now, Ron and I have very different philosophies. When we talked about doing this webinar, I told him, I want to charge for this webinar. And Ron said, Marshall, do me a favor for my guests, for my students, please. What I'd like you to do is I'd like you to do this webinar for free. And for the people that see what we're doing and like what you're doing, then give them an opportunity to come study with you. And I said, Ron, I would do anything for you. You literally changed my whole world. The first seminar, the one I just talked about in Atlanta that I went and did with Ron, changed my life forever. Changed my way of looking at things, changed my way of investing in real estate myself, changed my way of interacting with people. And I would like to believe also is a large portion of the reason that I deal with my students, my customers in the same way that I believe Ron does. And that is with the highest level of respect, the highest level of ethics, but also, Ron, I know that you have a phrase that you've said often, come to Papa, come to Papa, let me help you out. I feel the same way about my students that you feel about yours, a patriarchal, if that's a word, a father-like experience with my students that I know you're trusting your lives with us. You're counting on us to help you and give you wisdom and advice to have a better life because we've been able to have that better life ourselves. So we don't take this lightly. We care about you. We want you to win. We both agreed to do this free training May 5th, noon Eastern Standard Time. That's 9 a.m. West Coast time. Everybody should be awake. And if you're not awake, that's part of your challenge, frankly. You should be awake. You can get to the webinar. It's totally free. It's limited seats in the virtual event. So go to ronlegrand.com/Marshall. That's with 2 L's. Get yourself registered so we can send you the reminders. I don't know about anybody else that signs up for webinars. I get on the webinars that send me the most reminders. So we're going to send you some reminders.
Yeah. Hey,
I'm busy life. I just forget about things, but we'll send you reminders. So sign up right now so you can get on that reminder, text, email, however we'll remind you. And get there on May 5th. I'll have tens of thousands of dollars in cash and prizes to give away. So when you get on that webinar, I'll have my cash with me. I'll literally have stacks and stacks and stacks of moolah, dinero, plus all sorts of other training materials to give away totally free. And I'm going to invite you to a very special event I've been doing for over 40 years that, as Ron has said, has transformed the quality of thousands and thousands of Ron students over the decades, and it's going to transform your life too. So be sure to mark your calendar, click the link, get registered, and we'll see you on May 5th.
I got a couple more things. Number one, on May the 5th at noon, I strongly suggest you have your spouse on there with you, and even any adult children or anybody else that you want, for that matter, to be on this. You can send them the link. Anybody can sign up for it. It's free. And then I want you to write down a couple of dates so you can set them aside now and he'll tell you about them on the 5th, but that's just turning points, which are definitely life-changing. And he's got one scheduled in California that's in Carlsbad, on May 27 through 29. Make note if you're on the West. And I forced him into doing one in the East in Orlando on August the 5th through the 7th. So write down those dates, whichever one you think applies to you. And I'm also going to tell you, before you even start worrying about what this is going to cost, it's a fraction of what it used to cost, a fraction. So quit worrying about what it's going to cost you much. It ain't going to cost much.
No,
But
it's
this is
going to cost you
life-changing.
more not to do it. Again,
Yeah.
it's time. And that's the thing that people don't realize, Ron, is that every day that you don't start taking powerful, positive, productive action toward what you want, it gets harder. It doesn't get easier. It's like any bad habit. Procrastination and not taking action is just a habit. So let's change your habits instantly. Let's get you being more proactive in your life, more fearless in your life. And let's rewire your brain with the thoughts of a multi-millionaire real estate investor so you'll do what they do and produce a similar result.
Very well said. All right. You got any parting words?
Yeah, thanks so much for connecting me with your students again. You and I have been very, very busy over the past few years, and I'm very excited about what we've going on. The last thing I want to tell everybody as we move on from here is there's changes going on in the world. Doesn't matter where you stand politically, doesn't matter where you stand technologically, the landscapes are changing. And I want to assure you, absolutely guarantee you, my reputation at stake, I'd bet every dime on this truth, that we are in a magical era, a window of time where opportunities are going to be so big. Real estate's going to move. The economy is about to explode. Absolutely guaranteed it's about to explode. And if you don't get on the webinar on May 5th, you'll be behind the times. And people that get on the webinar on the 5th will have an unfair advantage, apples to apples. If you're attempting to negotiate on a piece of property or do a deal with somebody and you haven't done the training on May 5th, and then after that, the turning point, they'll win. They'll win the negotiation. They'll win the deal. And all you had to do was get up early on May 5th, get on the webinar to understand how to better reprogram your mind, and then ultimately come spend a couple of days with me so I can take out all the crap that's been in there since you were 7 years old and replace it with all the useful stuff that you need right now. Like I said, not only will I be giving away tens of thousands of dollars in cash and prizes on the webinar on May 5th, we also give away hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash and prizes at the actual Turning Point event that I'm going to be talking about on May 5th as well. So mark your calendar. It's your time. It's your era. It's your season. If you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, we got you covered. It is your time to absolutely transform your life forever and make 2026 and this point forward a time that you look back on and you say, gosh, I'm so glad that Ron and Marshall put that together and gave me an opportunity to step into the life that I knew I was always destined to live.
And I might point out that AI is taking a lot of jobs out there today, hundreds of thousands of them. So have you asked yourself, what will you do if yours goes away as well? The answer is it very well could be real estate, because it is truly a part-time business with a full-time income. Part-time business, I don't work 2 hours a week at real estate, and I still buy houses. In fact, never been any time in my life where I wasn't, at least when I was an adult. So even if it's only one source of income for you, maybe it's best you prepare where you don't have to depend on anybody else for your income, regardless of what AI does. So you have your opportunity now. That's all we can do. We brought you to bear. You're going to have to skin him. And Mr. Sylver, it's always a pleasure and an honor to work with you. You have such an impact on all of my students. So
yeah, Ron, I adore you and I adore what you do for the students. And it's always my pleasure to be a part of this, because I know that we're a perfect mix together. And I agree that if they would come get their heads on straight with me, understand irresistible influence, how to negotiate subconsciously, how to sell directly to the buyers and the sellers that they interact with on a subconscious basis, which is where all influence occurs, then they will always be, and historically we've seen this to be very, very true, the most successful students you have. So if you want to protect the investment you've made in your training, if you want to start, doing some, if not way, way, way more deals with all the knowledge you have, then by all means, May 5th, be on the webinar. And like you said, Ron gave you some other dates to lock down and kind of be planning ahead. We want to see you either in Southern California at Studio Money in Carlsbad, or on the West Coast in August in Orlando at Turning Point out there. Going to be the best thing you've ever done, guaranteed.
Orlando's the East Coast. That's the one that's in. Wait a minute. Orlando comes first, then Carlsbad, right?
No,
okay.
no. Carlsbad first in May, and then Orlando in August.
Okay, you're right. All right, sir. I appreciate you. And
I appreciate you too very much, and I look forward to seeing you too on May 5th.
See you August the 5th. I mean, May the 5th. Sorry, I'm had a long day.
Yeah, May 5th and August 5th both. So yeah, I'm excited about both of those, Ron.
All right. Thank you very much, sir.
All right.
Thank you all for watching.
Brother. Take care, everybody.
That's all for this edition of the Mentor Podcast. To connect with Ron and learn how you can attain financial freedom, as well as up-to-date strategies to grow and protect your wealth based on today's discussion, go to www.connectwiththementor.com.